Gerard de Narbonne, when he died, left her no other portion than some prescription of rare and well-proved virtue, which by deep study and long experience in medicine he had collected as Savaringian and almost infallible remedies. All among the rest, there was one set down as an approved medicine for the disease under which Lefeu said the king at that time languished. And when Helena heard of the king's complaint, she who till now had been so humble and so hopeless formed an ambitious project in her mind to go herself to Paris and undertake the care of king. But though Helena was the possessor of this choice prescription, it was unlikely, as the king as well as his prescription physicians was of opinion that his disease was incurable, that they would give credit to a poor unlearned virgin if she should offer to perform a care. The firm hopes that Helena had of succeeding, if she might be permitted to make the trial, seemed more than ever her father's skill wa- warranted, though he was the most famous physician of his time, for she felt a strong faith that his good medicine was scan- scantified by all the luckiest stars in heaven to be a legacy and should advance for fortune ever to the high dignity of being Count Roussillon's wife. But Thumb had not been long gone when she Countess was informed by her steward that he had overheard Helena talking to herself, and that he understood from some word she uttered she was in love with Bertram, and thought of following him to Paris. The countess dismissed Seward with thanks and desired him to tell Helena she wishes to speak with her. What she had just heard of Helena brought a remembrance of days long past into the mind of the countess. Those days, probably, when her love for Bertram's father first began. And she said to herself, even so it was with me when I was young. Love is a thorn that belongs to the rose of youth. For in the season of youth, if we are nature's children, those faults are ours. Uh, though then we think not their faults. While the countess was thus meditating on the loving errors of her own youth, Helena entered, and she said to her, Helena, you know I am a mother of you. Helena replied, you are my honorable mistress. You are my daughter, said the countess again. I say I am your mother. Why do you start and look pale at my words? With looks of alarm and confused thought, fearing the Countess suspected her love. Helena still replied, "Pardon me, madam, you are not my mother. The court Roussillon cannot be my brother, nor I your daughter." Yet Helena said, "Countess, you might be my daughter-in-law, and I am afraid that is what you mean to be. The word mother and daughter so disturb you. Helena, do you love my son?" "My madam, pardon me," said the afraid Helena. Again the Countess repeated her question, "Do you love my son? Do not you love him, madam?" said Helena. And Countess replied, "Give me not this evasive answer, Helena. Come, come, disclose the state of your affections, for your love has to the full appeared." Helena on her knee now owned her love, and with shame and terror implored the pardon of her noble mistress, and with words expressive of the sense she had of the inequality between their fortune, she protested Bertram did not know she loved him, comparing her humble, unaspiring love to a poor Indian who adores the sun that looks upon his worshipper, but know of him no more. The Countess asked Helena if she had not lately an intent to go to Paris. Helena on the design she had formed in her mind when she had refused speaking of King's illness. The Countess asked Helena if she had not lately an intent to go to Paris. Helena on the design she had formed in her mind when she heard Lefeu speak of the King's illness. "This was your motive for wishing to go to Paris," said the Countess, "was it? Speak truly." Helena honestly answered, "My lord, your son made me to think of this, else Paris and the medicine and the king had from the conversation of my throat been absent then." Then Countess heard the whole of this confusion without saying a word either of approval or of blame, but she strictly questioned Helena as he the probability of the medicine being useful to the king. She found that it was the most prized by Gerard de Narbonne of all he proceeded, and that he had given it to his daughter on his deathbed, and remembering the solemn promise she had made to the awful hour in regard to this young maid whose destiny and in the life of the king himself seemed to depend on the execution of a project which through conceived by the fond suggestion of the loving maidens, thought the countess no, not but it might be the unseen working of Providence to bring a path of recovery of the king and to lay the foundation of the future fortune of Gerard Narbonne's daughter. Free leave she gave to Helena to pursue her own way and generously furnished her with ample means and suitable attendants, and Helena set out for Paris with the blessing of the countess and her kindest wishes for her success. Helena arrived to Paris, and by the assistance of her friend to old Lord Lafayette, she obtained an audience of the king. She had still many difficulties and encounter, for the king was not easily prevailed on to try the medicine offered him by this fair young doctor. But she told him she was Gerard de Narbonne's daughter, with whose fame the king was well acquainted, acquainted, and she offered the precious medicine as the darling treasure, treasure, treasure which contained the essence of all her father's long experience and skill, and she boldly engaged to forfeit her life. It is failed to restore his majesty of project health in the space of 2 days. The king of land consented to try it, and it 2 days time Helena was to lose her life if the king did not recover, but if she succeed, she promised to give her the choice of any man throughout all France, with Francis one excepted, whom she could like for a husband. She chose a husband, being the fee Helena demanded of the cured the king of the disease. Helena did not deceive herself in the hope the conceived the eff- efficacy of her father's medicine. Before 2 days were at an end, the king was restored to perfect health, and she assembled as all the young noblemen and of his court together in order to confer the promised reward of a husband upon his fair physician, and she desired Helena to look round on this youthful parcel of noble bachelors and chose her husband. Helena was not sure to make her choice, for among those young lords she saw the Count Roussillons, and turning to Bertham, she said, "This is the man. I dare not say, my lord, I take you, but I give me and my service ever wisdom I like into your mm, guiding power." "Why then," said the king, "young Bertham, take her. She is your wife." Bertham did not hesitate to declare his dislikes to this present of the kings of the self-offered Helena, who he said, was a poor physician's daughter, bred at his father's church.